right here with the board like that. Okay, so now the idea is if, let's say I had a game that needed like 10 or 20 enemies on the board, this would be annoying. I would have to have 10 to 20 G2 fill rectangles right here, 200 and 400. This is the idea of objects comes in. And over here in player, the player class over here, this is the object. The player is the object. So we're going to build in a player. What are the characteristics of a player? Well, in this particular game, they have an X position. That's their integer value, X position. You have a Y position. You'll have maybe an X speed. You'll go left and right. And then you'll have Y speed. You'll go up and down. So those are the four most basic characteristics we'll put out there. So the first thing we do when building an object here, we're going to go over to this class. First thing is in the constructor. That's public player. So this is the method that's going to be called immediately as you build this object. I'll have to go back to the other class and show you how to build this object, but let's just build one of them. Let's set this up, and then I'll show you how to build it. So X position, this is its position on the board. So let's give it a random position, math.random times the board was 800. I believe it was by 800. Math.random 800. Let's make the Y position equal to int math.random. Let's multiply that by 800. So that sets its X position and Y position. As soon as we call this object, that will be set up. Then you have X speed. Let's set it that you go, as soon as it starts, go to the right 10. Y speed, go down 10. And now, it's kind of set up. Now, these next parts are called getter and setter methods. They're really convenient. So what you do is those four values, you do public int X position. So if the other program wants to know what the X position is, you return X position. So you send it back. This is how the other class board move will know the X position. It will be returned over there. And then you do public int Y position. And in this class, you will automatically, you'll return Y position. When you call this method, you'll figure out what its Y position is. Now, we need to set the X position. So right here, I'm going to do public void. This is a void. It's not going to return anything. And we'll say, oh, I apologize. Right here, usually you call this get X position, and you call this get Y position. Usually, I've learned them as getter and setters. I've stuck with that. These get them. They send them back. They return. Now, the void here is set X position. How do you set the X position? What constitutes a position? It's your previous position. So what is the X position? It's your previous position plus the speed you're at. Now we could put a lot more things in here. We could put boundaries and everything else. I'm going to leave it as that. Now public void set Y position. Now how do you set the Y position? Again, same thing. Your Y position is equal to whatever your last position was plus some speed. Now, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to change something else, and I'm kind of walking you through the logic here. Notice both set X position and set Y position are public. I'm actually going to switch that to private. What that means, that encapsulates these two methods. These two methods cannot be seen outside of here. You cannot, no other class can call these two methods. But what I can do right here in front of get X position, I could say go to set X position to that method. That method will then go and do everything right here. Just like get Y position, I'll call set Y position. And now, these two methods down here, these private ones, will never be called outside of this class. They'll only be called when they're right there. So how does this help us? Okay, so now go back to board move. Now, we need to make an object. And the way you make an object is you do the player, that's the class player. And let's go player, lowercase. And kind of standard convention, you see this quite a bit. There. You go to the player class, make an object called player, and player is what we deal with. As soon as this line is called, this creates the object, instantiates the object, sets up the data in player, and now allows us to use all the methods over here. As soon as it reads that line, it does all this. Now instead right here of having 200, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say player.get exposition. It's going to go get the object and get whatever its exposition is. Now here it's player.get y position. And what that does is now that goes and retrieves the information. And as long as I did this correct, if I run this, it starts moving down there. Remember, I gave it a positive x and a positive y, so it's always going to be slanted to the right. Now if I run again, it should be at a new position on the board. There it is. It was down left. I don't even know if it caught that. It went off so quickly. If I run again, there it goes. It moves. So what's happening is this object player in the other class is running everything. And for the third and last video, I'll show you how to make multiple player objects.